Welcome. This is my Directors on Directing final video for Directing 1, taught by Gordon Reinhart at Boise State University in the Department of Theater, Film, and Creative Writing. So the two directors that I chose for this project are the George II, Duke of Saxe-Meiningen, born 1826, and James Lapine, who is a contemporary director born in 1949. I found this project to be a little bit difficult because I sort of chose I chose James Lapine based off of the fact that I had seen his writing work before. But I chose George II because he has a really good name, and he's royalty, and that intrigued me. I did not realize when I did that I was going to have such a difficult time finding things to compare because everything in our Directors on Directing book is so different from what I was remembered. So George II was a person in the court. He was higher political status because he was a duke and he had a small, parsonage of land in Germany. And he really worked hard with the court orchestra and the court theater. And he actually had a troupe that traveled around Europe. His directing style, it was very based, he did everything. So he was the costume director, he was costume designer, he was the scenic designer, he was the director, he was the acting coach, he did all the things. And so it was really interesting to read about him and realize, oh hey, he does this and this and this and this, and this is what he's most concerned about at the moment. He sort of helped father the ideas of naturalism, oh my gosh, I can't speak today, naturalism and realism, and he was very against this idea of symmetry. He wanted everything to be very different. He wanted every character, every person, even in crowd scenes, as he says in the book, to have different shoulder heights. If they realize they're in the footlights, that they need to change their position if they find themselves standing like the person next to them. And it was very interesting to go through and read that because a lot of the modern ideas that we have about staging come from his ideas of, oh hey, nobody stands in a line. That's not natural. Or everybody's at different heights. Nobody stands here and here and they look at the same way. Now, some of these people don't really do as much just because they're very, I don't want to say old school because they're still used so much, but different directors have different visions. And so they look at it differently, such as James Lapine. So James Lapine really got into directing when he took on directing Photograph by Gertrude Stein when he was teaching at a university, I can't remember which. And that's how he sort of fell into the directing world. And he's very not naturalism and realism directing. He's very into the avant-garde. He's really into Robert Foreman and all of those guys. And so he wanted to do things that were slightly different. And his main focus has been on getting characterizations rather than caricatures, and creating something that's totally different rather than going the same route as Ibsen or Stanislavski. And so just those little differences in the way that he looks at these projects from the way that George II did is really interesting because James Lapine seems to really go with, this is something that I want to create. I want to make it weird, I want to make it great, and I want to make it interesting, where George II's directing style seemed very by the book. This is how people act. This is how we need to do this because nobody's going to stand in a straight line, and they don't mesh well, I don't think, except for maybe the idea of actors acting as the character and really finding that characterization inside rather than pretending and being a caricature of what they think this character is supposed to be. So that is a short blurb of my thoughts on these two.